Welcome to the Critical Breakdown, the podcast where we start at the bottom of Rotten Tomatoes and work our way to 100% fresh. I'm Scott.
And I'm Max. And today we're doing our promised Baahubali Mega-Episode.
We're joined by Jody, who joined us on this journey. A lot of J's.
Yes, I'm glad to be back on this 6-hour journey that we took together.
Yeah, a little under 6, because both movies clock in under 3 hours, but
we did rewatch parts of them.
yeah, we watched reparts of both. So.
Yeah.
Well, we challenged you guys to watch Baahubali, so I hope you did.
Mm-hmm.
We know some of you did. We have some thoughts.
Yeah.
Mailed in, which is great. But first, let's talk about other things we've been watching. Jody, what have you been watching?
Well, I'm a little disappointed in Netflix by the amount of trash TV that they've recently uploaded because it's gotten my life way off of track. I have been watching British documentary television such as Age Gap, which is about people who are in really large age discrepancy relationships, but like not in a sexy way at all. So I've been watching that, and I've been watching season 3 of Embarrassing Bodies.
They just keep churning those out for you, don't they?
They do, and it's keeping me busy. Max knows not to walk into the den when I have either of those programs on.
It's not like I know. It's a personal choice.
Well, when you walk into the den and there's somebody getting their full-on hemorrhoids inspected,
there it is.
You want to walk away.
But the key is I don't walk into the den if I know she's watching it.
I've come over before, walked into the den, and just seen it's on, and wanted to vom.
Yeah. Well, if you like any gross medical stuff, I would highly recommend both of those programs.
Check out Jody's recently watched.
Don't.
Anything else? Any cinema for you? Any movies that you've seen lately?
Well, the 6-hour Baahubali experience, and then afterward, because we were feeling in a India mood, I guess, Max put Lion on for me to watch, which I just like snot cried through the entire thing.
It's good viewing.
It's a great movie.
It was very
good. How
would
you? I've never been able to like describe it to someone in recommendation, but I still think about it. Like it's really good, but
how did that little kid, like the little boy who played the child version of him, should have gotten an Oscar. He was so good.
I thought Dev Patel was really good too. Yeah. He's only in the movie for like 20 minutes, but he kills it. Yeah. He really gives that emotional punch.
The way he looks, I feel like he should just play Jesus in a movie now.
Yes, Dev Patel.
Don't we have a Jesus movie coming out soon?
Mary Magdalene's coming out soon.
Yeah, but Jesus will be a character.
Yeah,
played by Joaquin Phoenix.
Jesus will return in Mary Magdalene.
Nice.
Oh yeah,
little religious humor for you.
And
classic.
What's her face? It was a good bringer back because
Rooney Mara.
Rooney Mara. It was the love interest of.
So maybe Dev Patel was playing Jesus.
I wish
it would have been a lot better.
You haven't seen it yet.
I know, but Joaquin Phoenix is Jesus, another white guy.
He's Puerto Rican.
He's Puerto Rican, but
Rican.
That's not dark enough to be Jesus.
Wow. Let's just stay on religion. They say it's a good topic to talk about. Max, what have you been watching?
Well, also on the old Netflix, we've been powering through season 3 of Love.
Yeah, I binged that in almost all in one day.
I have just a couple episodes left. She's behind. She put it on, then fell asleep immediately, so I just kept watching.
Sounds familiar.
I'm enjoying it.
It's good. Yeah.
I'll finish it. I'll talk about it more when I finish it.
Yeah, so. I watched all but the last episode in one sitting.
Yeah,
and when the last episode comes, I was like, I really want to stretch this out.
So you just watch it
later that
day. No, so that's kind of like the show thing that we've been watching. But I did rewatch for the first time in like a decade, probably E.T. This past week.
Yeah, I caught part of that while you were watching it. And what we realized is that your little baby pug, Mickey, my godson, makes the same exact noises as E.T.
Yeah. I have to rewatch in a post-pug world.
I decided at one point that it wasn't even an alien. It was just like a pug with really long arms.
That'd be a good twist.
Mange pug.
Yeah. So... No, but it's as good as I remember. Almost better in ways because a lot of stuff I just never caught when I was younger. A lot of the like weird divorce stuff that's going on that's just kind of subtle in the background and sometimes not so subtle. But I think from the kid perspective, when you watch the movie as a kid, it's easy just to kind of not notice that.
Yeah. You definitely watch it from a totally different set of eyes. It's like a new movie. Sure.
And just stuff like, I remember when I was younger, the older brother seemed like much more of a jerk. But watching it this time, like he has like a funny attitude, but he's actually a pretty caring older brother.
Yeah, he definitely has.
And so like the family dynamics seemed really good. But then the bike riding scenes, I was just noticing how effing dramatic they are and how amazing it is. So
Yeah. It really puts a film like Mac and Me in perspective.
yeah, it was my first time visiting that for sure since revisiting Mac and Me. So I mean, it was good. It was a good watch.
Yeah.
So. And also revisiting it after all the Stranger Things love.
That's what I was going to say. There was I didn't realize how much, because I hadn't seen E.T. since I was little.
Yeah.
How much Stranger Things
played
up on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of their biggest influences. It opens with a D&D-ish game getting played.
Yeah.
So.
And then like the bike scene, I remember. I haven't watched the first season of Stranger Things since it came out, but I remember isn't the car flip when they're riding on their bikes? Yeah.
So it's almost like the opposite of what E.T. did.
Yeah,
so
it's cool.
It's super fun.
Yeah.
Super good movie. I was.
You were just getting ready for Ready Player One.
I was gonna say
right?
I'm not at all excited for Ready Player One, but I do love a good Spielberg movie, and I felt like dipping into some Berg, getting my Berg on.
The review embargo was lifted on Ready Player One, and it's at like 68 or 70% Rotten Tomatoes or something, which is like exactly the score it needed for me to not be more or less interested.
I wonder
even if it got worse reviews, I'd be like, okay, now I kind of want to know what happened.
It would be an interesting study to take all the people who reviewed it and then line up their like age and race and gender demographics and see if it's like 35-year-old males all gave it like positive. Because I feel like definitely that would be its like core group.
I feel like really young, like millennials and stuff. I hate grouping people like that, but like people currently in high school or college probably really liked it because like 80s vintage is like really in right now with Stranger Things and everything. So you lean like, oh yeah, Pac-Man. I remember Pac-Man.
But I know
that's why I'm like not interested at all. So. Yeah,
I know a ton of dudes like my age who are like super stoked for it. So
well,
it's
they
like
actually grew up with those things. It's not pretend nostalgia for something that you didn't grow up with.
I did read. I listened to a portion from the book, and it made me even less interested.
Yeah, you sent it to me, but I never actually got a chance to read it.
Check it out, and then turn it off as soon as you're done with it, which would probably be
or you
pretty
could
soon.
just Google 80s pop culture and just read the list.
It's like a Mad Libs
movies that show up.
There's a funny YouTube video where this dude makes songs for stuff. He did like a Will Smith theme for Get Out at one point.
Yeah, I think
I may have sent that to you.
Yeah,
he did a rejected Ready Player One theme, and it's just him saying, "Remember the '80s? Remember Pac-Man?" And it's that for like 3 minutes, and it was pretty funny.
It'll be interesting because I feel like the general opinion on it has almost started to turn already, where people are already starting to gang up on Ready Player One, like online, like on Reddit and stuff. I'll read. They'll be like, does this even look good to anyone? When like a year ago it was like, this is going to be the best movie of all time.
To be fair, it looks like a big old steamy pile of stink.
Yeah, I don't get it. I just wish I got it.
I'll see moments in the trailer that are Spielberg moments that I'm like, oh, that looks cool. And then I'm like, I see the rest of it and I'm just like, no.
Yeah. Like the glowing silver VR players, there's nothing interesting about that, like in the trailer, and I don't care about the Iron Giant slapping away a DeLorean or something. So we'll see.
The first trailer they had with Rush playing, where they all get in the cars and do the race, like I was like, that looks interesting.
Yeah,
because it's like playing on Tron at the same time, also. And
Those
then it was like
in it for sure.
The next trailer, I was just like, no, I'm not here.
Well, it comes out on Friday, so...
we all know where we'll be on Friday.
I'm probably going to see it just to be part of the conversation.
Yeah. Think of it more as a conversation.
For science.
But, for the pod. I'll watch it for you guys.
I'll go see it. I'll go see it with you.
You better not pay money to see that.
Damn.
Probably have to pay money.
Yeah, what's the alternative?
It's probably more than $10.
Ooh.
Well, I watched a new release movie.
What'd you watch?
Thoroughbreds.
Oh.
Anya Taylor-Joy and Olivia Cook, is that her name?
And the last recorded performance of
Anton Yelchin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
It was not as good as I wanted it to be, which stinks because I was really excited. The trailer looked so much fun, and it's like a dark comedy, which never quite lands for me. I'm realizing, like every dark comedy I've seen in my life, I'm always like, I wish it were funnier.
Yeah,
which is kind of not what a dark comedy is, but no, it's just weird. There's not really a good message or anything, and I don't know. It's definitely like an art house cult movie. You can tell I know it's gonna have that audience, but
it looked in the preview. It looked like it would be a lot more action packed than what I heard it was.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a slow burn. There's not any action in the movie, period. Like, so if you're looking for like a fun murder movie, this really isn't it. This is more of like a coming of age story, I guess, about people who are incredibly rich, so it makes it entirely
So
unrelatable.
it's easy to see how people can identify with that.
So even the poor girl in the movie is very upper middle class. So
She's that rich poor.
yeah, she's that rich poor for sure.
She can only afford J. Crew.
No, she was probably still rocking the nice stuff. I don't know what I'm saying. Anton Yelchin was funny though. He was the best part
I'm going to miss him in movies.
for sure. I've always liked him. Another movie I saw, I don't know if I mentioned it on the pod, was Loving Vincent. It's not the newest release. It was 2017, but it's a movie that was entirely oil painted.
Yeah.
And it's one of the coolest films I've ever seen.
It's a full feature?
It's a full feature, yeah.
interesting.
Cool 90, I think. But there was a team of like 100 artists who did it, and
That makes sense.
it's a really cool
preview
movie.
for that, and it reminded me so much of what was that?
Waking Life.
Waking Life with the what's it called? Rotoscoping.
Yeah.
Like it reminded me of that, and I thought, ugh.
I don't know what
Waking
that
Life.
is.
Waking Life is
Don't.
like conversations about dreams.
It's about lucid
But
dreaming
that's the same.
premise of like.
Well, no, it's
painting
the same
over the
animation
scenes.
rotoscoping like technology they used for the Philip K. Dick movie with.
Scanner Darkly
Yes.
with Keanu.
Yeah. And Robert Downey Jr.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So,
I think we're talking about the same movie.
yeah, the art style is totally different from that, at least from Scanner
Well, I'm
Darkly.
saying the
yeah.
Waking Life to that
Yeah.
more so than Vincent.
Sure.
Well, it just reminded me of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The movie wouldn't have been very good if that was its whole shtick and
Right.
the actual movie was bad. But there's a really cool mystery in it. Like, they're trying to figure out what happened to Vincent van Gogh. And I honestly don't know anything about the history of Vincent van Gogh. I know he was weird. He cut his ear off. And did he cut his dick off, too? I don't know.
No.
That might be a Family Guy bit.
Just
But-
his ear.
Yeah. But they talk about, like, the end of his life. And the characters in the movie are all people that he's drawn in his paintings. And at the end, they go through the credits. It's like... Saoirse Ronan plays a character, and so they show her, they show the painting version, and they show the character in the movie, and it's really cool.
That's
Oh,
cool.
that's cool.
Yeah, it's a really neat movie. I recommend it. I rented it on Amazon, but if it's ever streaming, check it.
Off topic, but one of the best Doctor Who episodes ever was based around Vincent van Gogh.
Yeah,
It was a good episode.
Yeah.
didn't a famous actor play him?
It's
Maybe
a guy
not.
that I definitely can't remember off the top of my head, but he's in a bunch of stuff.
I've
He's
never
probably
watched Doctor
famous
Who.
in Great
so-
Britain.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
On a
at least
first-name basis.
at least known. Yeah.
Yeah,
UK listeners, feel free to reach out and
Please
let us
correct
know.
us on that one.
So,
yeah. All yeah, please reach out.
um,
But that's the appetizer, and the main course is Baahubali. Baahubali probably has a good audience in the UK, right?
oh, probably.
I think of
Probably
Indians
all over the
abroad.
world.
Well,
Definitely
Indians
all over
abroad, I
the
think
world.
the United Kingdom is one of the highest population of.
God, I wonder if that's
Indians
related to
abroad.
colonialism.
There's no way. But no,
not the right podcast.
we already talked about Jesus quite a bit. So
Wow.
what else can we do, guys?
Stir the pot. Well, I'm so excited to talk about this movie.
Yeah, so we touched a little bit on just like high level why we like Baahubali so much last week. But Max, what's like the plot synopsis for Baahubali as a whole? Like both the epic pair of movies.
Well, Baahubali, the pair of the films, it's really about Shiva, who's the son of Baahubali. And as he learns about his heritage, he begins to look for answers. His story is then juxtaposed with past events that unfolded in the Mahishmati kingdom, which explains the story of his father, who is the named Baahubali.
Yep.
And then Shivadu is his like name he's given as a child. He kind of has a Moses origin, as we would know it here in the West, basically, where he's given to a river and then someone finds him and raised by a different family.
Yeah.
So he also is named Baahubali, but it's a different name. It's I can't remember off the top of my head.
It's like Baahubali is the surname almost.
Yeah, basically.
I don't know.
So and so the movie, the first one opens with this like river scene, and
Yeah.
then
Incredible.
you see him kind of grow up
Yeah.
and learn about the world, and he's kind of held back by his parents not wanting him to experience like this
Yeah.
giant waterfall.
He grows up in like a sheltered village.
Yeah,
and
yeah. And so
Very old fashioned.
He has an uncanny amount of strength.
yes, yeah.
For a young boy.
It's kind of demigodish.
Yeah, it
where
definitely is.
There's some connections with, I believe, with Shiva.
Well, I think those
they're a
aren't
tribe, I
literal.
think.
The tribe like worships Shiva.
Yeah.
And I don't know the origin of Shiva in actual Indian culture or religion, but it's basically like the rip, like it's this massive waterfall, and they pray to it as a god, basically. And he is always trying to climb up the waterfall, jump from rock to rock and stuff. And he's never able to do it until he sees a vision of a very beautiful butterfly woman.
He gets that vision right after they show the ceremony of giving water to Shiva at the shrine.
Was it a ceremony?
I think she's required to go get water in the dangerous river and bring it to the god shrine
100 times.
But she was trying to get the priest or whatever the elder was that was like in charge of the religion, I guess. She was trying to get him to guarantee that Shiva, her son Shiva, would never try and climb the waterfall again.
Yeah.
He was like, get water 100 times and he won't try again. So his response is first he's like, well, I'll carry you. And the guy's like, no. Like, she has to make walk herself. Yeah. And then he's like, well, I'm going to carry the shrine to the river. And he takes this like stick and breaks it.
Let's just backtrack because up until this point, he's kind of chubby looking, like just thick.
The clothes don't like accentuate his.
They do nothing
his
for his
muscles.
THICC.
He is thick.
Yeah.
And then his shirt comes off when he picks up the shrine, and you're like, "What?"
Yeah, the ripples.
He's so
thick to swole.
Thick to swole.
So swole, but he's still got that like kind of childlike face. So
for sure.
He doesn't have a defined jawline,
like a Channing Tatum.
A little more doughy in the face, I'd say.
Channing Tatum's a very defined man.
But he has the boyish face.
Yeah, the boyish face for sure. Yeah. But anyway, he's very, very muscular.
And the best part about this is as soon as he picks up, it looks like a bell almost, the shrine. It's this massive like stone or metal structure. The music kicks in, and the music in this movie is amazing because every song is also almost part of the storytelling.
Yeah, it's like a Greek chorus.
Yeah. It's like they're building the myth of Baahubali through the music. And I mean, look up music video. Maybe we'll link some of them in the blog or something. But like,
scenes up
they're amazing. So he carries this bell shrine right under the waterfall. Then he's covered in the water. And when you picture every shot we're describing, if you haven't seen it, you have to ramp up the like splendor of it to 11 because everything is like him whipping his head around and the water shooting off and just staring into the camera. And
smiling.
It sounds cheesy, but it works.
Yeah.
And it's hard to figure why. Yeah.
Well, we had talked that if this had not been like a Bollywood movie, that it wouldn't have had the same level of charm. For the level of cheese at the beginning. It definitely gets less cheesy and more cheesy as you go and get deeper into it.
To me, it stayed about the same.
I think it starts at a pretty high cheese and it just gets more dairy.
You just realize that you're into it.
You accept it more, yeah. Like, Baahubali is essentially a superhero.
Yeah.
They never touch on if he has actual God-given powers or anything.
I know some mythologies and some... Because there's always, like, multiple stories with mythology where one kind of counteracts the other. Sometimes demigods are born from mating human and god, and sometimes it's like a demigod is created by being blessed by a god. And so I kind of felt it was more like that. Like,
it would have to be something like that.
Him and his father were somehow touched by the gods in some way.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any specifics to that in the story. I didn't catch any.
Particularly son Baahubali, because even so we're talking about the son story here. But then halfway through the first movie and then the first half of the second Baahubali movie are focused on the father's story. Yeah. And he doesn't have, like, he still has incredible things he does, but it doesn't feel as, not ridiculous isn't the right word.
Well, his is a tragedy.
Yeah, his is definitely a tragedy.
And then the son, Shivudu, his is a redemption arc.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting to have both together because the first film ends with this, like, awesome cliffhanger where the tragedy hasn't happened yet, but the redemption hasn't happened yet, like, fully either. So it leaves you right on the cusp of things. So that's why I think it works so well as a two-parter, because you want to know more. You have to know more as soon as it ends.
Even 3 hours in, you're like, can we start the next one right now?
I had so much energy at the cliffhanger. Like, I flew out of my seat.
Yeah.
I think
we all were standing up.
It was insane. I was literally screaming. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. After the shrine, we have Baahubali chasing this beautiful wispy butterfly dream woman. It's this woman in this white robe, and she's coated in butterflies, and there's a musical number that she's singing. This is our first
musical number, right?
That a character's singing, yes. Because like there's songs with lyrics.
The chorus songs. Right?
But this is the first musical number, and he has to basically achieve what he hasn't before in climbing the waterfall here. They showed him miss this jump before, and then he has to make this. I mean, it's like a 40-foot jump or something ridiculous, but he makes it to follow her, and it ends up after the musical number with her being. It's almost confused, like a soldier almost, or like a thief. Like you can't fully tell.
From the mother's.
You learn all this.
Yeah. So you learn that she's. I think in the second film, maybe you learn it, that she's from where his natural born mother's tribe came from, or their kingdom that was destroyed. They're the remnants of it, and they're trying to rescue her, basically.
I think in the first they say we have to save like our princess.
They say it, but they don't explain it ever. So you kind of piece it together, but you don't know the backstory.
For sure.
But yeah, you do learn that she's part of that, and she's not like the leader, but the leader of that faction keeps scolding her because he thinks that she's just like obsessed with her own beauty.
Yeah, but like to this point, you don't ever actually see that really.
You see it once he seduces her.
Oh, but like there's no reason for us to think that she seems like a very hardy and battle-tested woman.
At one point, he's scolding her about something right when they come back, so I don't remember what specifically.
Now, it might have been when Baahubali started drawing on her.
That part for sure, but before that, too, he was like, I'm not sure if you're ready for this mission.
Yeah, I think it might have just been like a generic, you're not ready, you're not
just making her
wise enough, I don't know.
At some point when he gets to the top of the waterfall, he is enamored by this beautiful girl. Mm-hmm. He's tracking her down, playing little trickster jokes on her, drawing on her body, making tattoos and
throwing
stuff.
Snakes at her.
Those scenes are amazing.
Yeah.
Like the one where she's laying down with her hand in the water and he's holding his breath for like 20 to 30 minutes doing like perfect
painting
tattoos.
Underwater, so it must have been like oil-based paint.
It's hard to know what that was.
Maybe.
I think.
It was very colorful. It wasn't one color.
Yeah.
At what point, and this is where the 6 hours of filming blurs, do people start calling him Baahubali?
As soon as he makes it into the city and his face is revealed.
That's when the people of the city are calling him Baahubali.
Okay. So up until this point, he's just Shiva. Shiva at the top of the waterfall. Shiva falling in love for the first time.
So like the opening scene is the queen mother. You find out it's the queen mother like dying in the river, holding baby Shiva over her head. Does she scream out Baahubali there?
I think she yells at Shiva.
Shiva, okay.
But she's talking to the god.
Shiva, the waterfall.
It's this amazing scene where she's just like drowning, dying, holding a baby over her head. Same baby from American Sniper.
Actually, a little bit better than that.
A little bit better, yeah.
It's maybe made out of silicone.
Maybe.
We'll look it up.
Instead of a straight up plastic.
Straight puppet.
Yeah.
Anyways, so this is it's the hero's journey. It's he's your Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
He's experiencing these things for the first time and like discovering a power.
I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Like I think this is maybe the best hero's journey I've ever seen. This is better than.
Is it better than Joe Dirt? Be real.
It's better than Joe Dirt.
Wow.
It's better than any of the Lord of the Rings or Hobbit movies.
It's definitely better than the Hobbit movies.
It's better than Lord of the Rings.
I think, it's so different.
Is it? I mean, a lot of the battles were similar.
Even Lord of the Rings, a movie with wizards and kingdoms and stuff, it's grounded in, quotes, realism.
Yeah.
In that, like, it's real people, like, walking up stairs and, like, they have to walk. Baahubali doesn't do anything in a normal, non-fantastic way.
This pulls so much from good fantasy already existing. Mm-hmm. It pulls from a genre I've mentioned before, which is wuxia, the Chinese, like, heroic fantasy. All the wire working in this, like, all the martial arts fighting and war scenes where there's wire work, definitely straight from that. And then... the big epic battle scenes are like taking Lord of the Rings stuff and making it more fun, making it more like outlandish. This is what The Hobbit should have been. It should have been a musical fantasy epic that's like 1 to 2 films only.
There were musical numbers in the Hobbit movies, right? They weren't
but
good.
It wasn't this.
I don't really particularly care for that genre.
No, I know.
At all. As
That's
you're
clear.
well aware. So I was very surprised at how much I loved the battle scenes because it was just like sucks you in. I have never said that.
It's like Max said. It's the fun of it.
Yeah,
like
it's kinetic.
The main
very like high energy, but not overdone. Like how a lot of American films will do the fight scenes with the choppy editing and the shaky cam.
They keep things in screen, and like the effects aren't great because the budget's not that high.
Better in the second one.
They're fine. Oh, they're definitely better in the second one, but they're fine. Like, you don't like there's one character who has like a gimp arm basically. It's held to his chest and
it literally looks like he's just holding
like it's like he's holding his chest.
It's like those the hand game they sell now with a tiny hand. It's like
and there's some scenes where you can still see his regular arm hanging by his side, like faded, like it wasn't all the way removed. And it's like, okay, that's not good effects, but it never takes you out of it.
Yeah, there's two moments like that. That's in the first one. And then the giant gold statue in the end of the second one. The CG just falls apart at one point on that. Yeah. Everything else is pretty solid. It might be like a little dated looking in certain parts, but it works.
It's fine though. I mean, they could have quintupled their budget and made all these effects better, but
it works out.
Who cares? Yeah. Let's get back to the story real quick, and then we can talk details, because there's a lot that goes on in the movie here. After all his trickster moments, like with the snake, she's like aiming a bow at a rock or something, trying to hit Baahubali, like trying to trap him, and he puts a snake on her arm, so she freezes, and then he draws on her again.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, you got drawn on again. What's her name? Avantika. And she's really mad. And then when they meet, it's this beautiful and ridiculous musical number.
And to give the background is why she's so mad. She's one of these warriors. She is like a hard-edged lady. You could tell she's attractive, but she's covered in dirt. She has like warrior clothes on.
Until their first musical scene.
Well, she's very hardened, and she's still trying to attack him during their first musical number.
But he's giving her a makeover during the entire thing. Like, he's like whipping like a vine at her, and like her dress.
He
ties her hair up.
He like cracks like a pomegranate or something, and like throws it at her on her lips.
And it gives her lipstick and rouge, and then you just look.
My favorite part: he's holding like berries, and she slices at him, and it looks like he got cut. And it looks like it's blood, but it's really just the berries. And he does a toss, and it does the dot.
It's like perfect.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And then she looks at her reflection in the waterfall and is like, "Damn, I look really good."
And then she falls in love with him. She's like, "I am a woman."
And then they link arms, and they're hit. The tattoos they get drew on her mat.
Yeah, that was the coolest part. Yeah. It's these like weird like dragon tattoos almost. It looks like. All over her body, and they link arms in the perfect way, and he has the same ones.
So guys, if you're gonna draw on a girl while she's sleeping by a pond, make sure you're
doing it with some
match.
style, people.
Yeah, think about your end game.
Yeah.
Can we also?
It's my favorite scene, by the way, the musical number.
Yeah, there was so much sexual tension, but I didn't realize that, like in Bollywood films, they don't show kissing or anything. Mm-hmm. But they did show him like kissing all over her belly, but they couldn't show him kissing her mouth.
Yeah, and even then, it was like the belly was mostly obscured.
It was, but he deflowered her. Definitely.
Well, you assume that they made love and were man and woman then from then on. So
my one complaint would be that Avantika really was not in the movie, hardly in the second movie.
Yeah.
The second movie, the first half, maybe even 2/3, is the other storyline, the past storyline. But then even when they get back to the main, she's barely in it.
Yeah,
I was kind of amazed that she was barely in it. Yeah, she's like a background character.
Yeah, she's like with the military, and they show her doing a couple moves, and that's it. It should have been more.
Yeah, but she doesn't have like a primary role. Yeah.
But I was pleasantly surprised with how much they built out the mother character, both her and the grandmother.
Yeah, so while all this is happening, they keep going back to the kingdom. What's the name of the kingdom? The
Mahishmati.
The Mahishmati kingdom, where I don't think you know at this point that it's Shiva's uncle who's running the kingdom, but Bala, yeah, or as I call him, Bahu brother. And we'll get into that in a minute, but he's running the kingdom, and you're introduced to some of the other characters like Katapa, who is this like old grizzled like big beard slave.
Yeah.
But he's also this like really honored and respected warrior. It's a really weird line they cross. They're like, "You're the best warrior, but you'll never betray us because you're our slave." And the whole slave thing, it's a very bad deal his people made. He's like the ancestor of a group of people who, as repayment for something, promised all of their ancestors would be slaves for life. Yeah. That is such a crazy deal.
Descendants,
yeah. That's such a nutty deal. Like, what could they have possibly been paying for?
I mean, it could have been... It's hard to tell because slavery has existed in so many different ways throughout history that it's we obviously have such a negative connotation of it, which I don't think that's a positive connotation, but because we have such a lens of it being the terrible thing that it is, he didn't have a great deal either, but it was almost, I'm not going to say it was analogous to the caste system, but it did feel more like something.
I saw it as more just showing that he had a lower status.
Yeah, that he was like stuck too. He was stuck in that.
But it definitely seemed like he couldn't really own property or take a family. They made it sound like that, but then how does he come from a line of slaves? So I don't know.
Somebody's having babies somewhere.
Someone's having babies somewhere.
Maybe he was choosing, because I feel like he said something like he's never had his own kid. Maybe that was like a choice of his to end the line.
Maybe.
But then he ended up being kind of a spiritual, like, uncle to Bahubali's, Shiva's father, Baahubali.
Yep.
And later, almost like a father figure / grandfather figure.
Yeah.
So
because Shiva, I mean, you know that his parents in Village Life are not his real parents.
Yeah.
I felt bad for his parents in Village Life because, like, they never did anything wrong. They just had a
I think
demigod
they were honored
son.
in the end, though.
Sort of, but
they were at the massive ceremony in the very last scene.
But it's like the whole thing. So Baahubali Shiva gets to the city, and he gets in there, and they're having this big celebration as they raise the king's statue. And the statue starts to fall. 25
years of him.
Yeah, 25 years would make sense with the timeline.
Yeah.
But they're raising the statue, and the statue starts to fall. And Shiva grabs a rope and like stops this probably 50,000 pound statue from falling.
He's strong, dude.
And the other people who are like lifting the statue, they see him and they're like, Baahubali?
Yeah, and they start chanting it.
That's when you figure it out. You're like, okay, yeah, something more is going on here. Then he does this weird move where he infiltrates the guards for no reason. I kind of like it because it was just like a troll move.
Yeah.
But he either kills a guard or knocks one out, takes the clothes. He's in the guard room. They called all the guards in, and the king is like, who said the name? Baahubali. Who said the name? And what does he say? Yeah.
I saw who said it first. And they're like, he's like, who said it? And he's like, I did. Yeah. And then he like fake trips into a fire, like a torch or something.
Yeah, like
and
a bed of coals.
And the curtains
just goes
up. The curtains go up. The whole room goes up. And he like
scurries
away.
Like
jumps out the window, but he lets the guy see him. And then just vanishes.
It had no purpose, but I loved it.
Yeah, no, it was pure trolling.
And the people look up and they're like, something's going on up there because there's like a room on fire and he's just like running away.
Well, then eventually he does see who he's not sure. He just sees this woman chained up and is like, I have to save her.
Yeah.
And she's like ready for him. Yeah. So, and we had met her a little bit earlier. And she looked a little creepy. She looked a little bedraggled.
Scarface.
Yeah.
She had some scars, had some dirt on her, and we just kept seeing her pick up sticks.
Yeah.
And right before Baahubali infiltrated
she's talking to the king, right?
She's talking to the slave, Katapa. And he's like, I could break you out right now. Like, they're up to no good. Let's just finally do it. Let's just leave. I've been trying to stay here to protect you, but, you know, like, it's not happening. And she's like, well, my son's coming back. And he's like, lady, give it a rest. Like, your son's not coming back. And then he's like, look at you. You should be queen, yet you're picking up sticks. Yeah. And she's like, I'm not just picking up sticks. I'm making a funeral pyre for that asshole. And
then there's like this amazing, like the editing in this movie there's no subtlety to it. It's all like very sudden. So the music kicks in and it like zooms out. Yeah. Just a box full of sticks.
Yeah.
A massive box full of sticks. But
and she's been doing it for 25 years.
There wasn't a tree in sight.
The sticks kept falling though.
Sticks kept falling. Shiva blessed her.
Yeah. Divine favor.
So Shiva, son Shiva, saves her. They get on this chariot and run away. Like you said, chariots need to be in more movies.
Yeah, dude.
I think you even said let's use chariots in real life.
Yeah, I said let's bring back the chariot.
Let's bring back the chariot.
Just like a two-wheeled giant Segway that we could just ride around in.
Yeah.
It'd be cool, man.
Yeah.
I'm down.
So there's a little chariot chase here where the king's men are basically chasing son Shiva, Katapa, and
we believe it's
Devasena?
Bala's son, perhaps?
The king's son.
We think that's who it is.
Yeah. But it's the mother there is Devasena, is that her name?
Yeah, that's Devasena.
Yeah. No. Yeah. there's this amazing chase that ends up outside of the city. They probably did something real stupid to get out of the city, like ramped their horses off of
I think so.
something. Yeah, because it's
some
like
cool
that kind of
shit.
thing happens.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there was this amazing scene when Shiva ends up in the city where he lands. Someone sees him and his clothes melt away and form Bahubali's armor.
Yeah,
Remember?
and there's
it was
like
just a vision, but
there's like chanting behind it too.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
it's,
Also,
it's too cool.
when they erected the statue, it's this big gold statue of the current king, Bala.
And then a vision of a
when everyone's chanting,
when everyone's chanting Bahubali's
like,
name,
like 10 times the size of this gold statue, which is already huge, like skyscraper size. Bahubali in his full golden armor, like just
a
appears.
flash, just a vision.
Yeah,
So
they
it's
zoom
great.
out way out of the city. It's really cool. But this chariot chase ends up outside the city. There are more people. There's a lot more people out there who are on Shiva and Bahubali's side.
Like the tribal poor folk.
Basically. And it ends with a sword fight between Shiva and his cousin.
Yeah.
We're pretty sure.
Yeah, by this point you can kind of tell.
And like, what's amazing is Shiva doesn't realize that he just saved his mom at this point, I don't think.
Yeah.
But he's really mad in this fight and he beheads the guy.
Yeah.
In
And the
this
dude
really
looks-
angry fight.
I love a good beheading in this movie.
He looks like a
This is the
shitty,
first beheading.
This is number one, yeah.
He looks like a shitty version of Zayn from One Direction, the guy he's fighting. Like
Maybe, yeah.
Like he's trying to capture that look, but he's not that guy.
My favorite thing is after the beheading, they zoom way far out and his body's still walking maybe 10 more steps.
Yeah.
Which might be real. I've never been privy to a beheading.
Chickens do it. So
This guy was a real chicken, that's for sure.
There's like lightning striking and moonlight behind it.
Yeah,
and
it's pouring rain.
It's epic.
There's a
But
really
then,
epic scene where Bahubali flips his head towards the camera and water sprays everywhere.
Katapa, the slave, was told to protect this guy who just got beheaded. So he jumps off his horse, grabs his sword, still in the scabbard, and is like running towards Bahubali. No, he's grabbing it off the horse. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And it's almost as though he had not actually seen Shiva's face
He had not,
yet.
no.
Yeah.
Because as he's approaching him with the sword, he realizes that this
Who
is
it is.
a spitting image of Bahubali.
Not with the sword. He has the sword and he's pulling it. Bahu
Bob
comes running,
grabs it.
does a leap over the horse, grabs the sword out of the scabbard.
Oh, yeah.
And then one of his
over him.
men throws him a spear. So then he runs at son Shiva with this spear.
At this point, Katapa thinks he has to like defend his honor, kill the man who killed
exactly.
who he was in charge of.
And he sees his face and then just comes to like a kneeling halt.
Yeah, drops to his knees and like
Shiva's
smile
feet.
yells, Bahubali!
Still pouring rain.
Yeah.
Still amazing.
Everyone looks so wet and glistening and beautiful.
So then
But then it's
after-
daytime again.
Well, I
like,
think that was like
pretty
the whole
soon after,
night,
right?
basically.
Yeah.
I think they were speeding us through to dawn.
Yeah.
At dawn.
Does he put his foot on his head?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Because then Shiva's like, how do you know who I am? Like all this, who's Bahubali?
Yeah.
And
He's like-
now...
He's like, why are they staring at me like I'm a god?
Yeah.
Why are these people trying to kill me? Why do I get angry when I see how they've hurt this woman who I just met? Like he's like actually upset.
Yeah.
And
Why am I so confused?
and Katapa's like, let me explain. And his actual parents have shown up. Well, the parents who raised him have shown up too.
Yeah, which is kind of funny because Shiva and Avantika were on like a seemingly multi-month journey to get there.
Yeah.
And then his old village just like pops out of a cave.
Yeah.
They're like,
Well-
what's going on up here?
Well,
The cave system is faster. They showed that in the beginning.
they had blocked
Yeah.
it off so that
Yeah.
he couldn't get to the top of the
But
waterfall.
it was just kind of funny to see.
It was.
And this is where we get treated to our movie within a movie.
Yeah, so that's maybe an hour and a half or more, maybe an hour 45 of the first movie. And now,
That flew by.
oh
It
yeah,
felt like half an hour.
all of it flies by.
Yeah.
The only time I was ever, and bored's not even the right word, but things felt a little slow was in the first half of the second movie.
When he's seducing.
When Bahubali or Bahubali father, whatever you want to call him, old Bahubali is seducing his wife, Devasana. But anyways, we go back now to his father and their origin. Basically, the queen mother, who's the same woman we saw die in the river at the very start, she doesn't have two babies, but there are two babies.
Yeah,
believe-
so her name is Shiva also, right? Shivagami? No.
It's
What's the queen's
Shivagami?
name?
It might be Shivagami.
Yeah, so she is either the sister or I think she's
believe-
the sister-in-law of the current.
I don't know if she's sister-in-law or sister directly.
She's not like
the king.
the direct line of lineage, though.
Yeah.
Basically, the king had died, and Shiva Gami already has her own son with her husband, who's the guy with the gimpy arm.
Yeah,
that's right. He is the king's
He's
brother
the
because
king's
he was
brother.
deemed unfit.
When the king
because of his
died,
gimpy arm.
no, he feels like it's his arm, but really it's because he's crazy.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
if he-
They
it
do
doesn't
make a
matter that
point
he
of
has
that.
a gimpy arm. If he wasn't crazy, he
I
could
don't
have been the
think we
king.
should be saying gimpy arm.
Yeah, I wondered when I first said it if that was okay or not.
Just for the record, let's just
All
say
right,
he.
What's
has,
the right way to put it?
He just has an arm that's deformed. I think is the best way to say that.
arm.
Okay.
His shriveled arm.
Deformity.
All right. Sorry, we
Yeah.
apologize.
I just wanted to point that out.
He has a shriveled arm.
Once or twice wasn't bad, but I think you just said it 5 times in a single sentence. So we apologize if that.
He has a
was
deformed
bad.
arm. But that's not what's wrong with him.
Yeah, he's just
It's his
effing
brain.
nuts.
He's crazy.
Yeah,
So
he's very evil.
he has a son who he is sure now that his brother has died, his son will ascend the throne.
Yeah,
But
which makes sense.
his
Yeah.
brother's wife dies in childbirth, and Shiva Gami, the wife,
The wife of the
sees
guy with
the baby,
deformed arm.
and she touches
We'll have to
out.
post a family
The
tree on the
baby
blog.
grabs her finger and is so strong,
Yeah.
and she realizes there is something very special about this
Yeah.
baby.
So she decides.
The Baahubali.
Yeah.
Bahu.
So it's down to Baahubali and then Balala Deva.
Can we just talk about my favorite scene of this movie? So she decides she's going to raise this boy as her own, and we see her go to the throne, and she sits down and starts to simultaneously breastfeed both children at the same time, and she declares that she will raise them both as her sons, and that when they are of age, one of them will become the king, but until then, she is the ruler of the kingdom, which is this
It was a pretty-
completely
it was a power
badass
move.
we have a brief Game of Thrones moment here where this one dude who's like leader of some great house or something is like, we can't let a woman sit in the throne. Are you kidding me? Like, troops, we're gonna overthrow this. And he gets his men and they pull out their blades and they're about to charge, and she's like, oh, can you not? And they all kill him, basically.
Well, she was like, everyone who's loyal to me, kill those guys.
Yeah.
Or doesn't she say, like, raise your hand if you're against me?
Yeah.
And, like, some people raise their hand, and she's like, kill those guys.
Yeah, but then afterwards, the guy's like, "How can you do this?" And she's like, "It's simple. It's statecraft."
yeah.
And we were just like,
They say
"Oh, yeah."
statecraft, like, 5 times, and every time it just is amazing.
Just in case you were confused about what that is.
I didn't really know what statecraft was. So then we're treated to basically a montage of the growing up of the two boys. You get to see how they're two sides of the same coin, basically. They're all praying in this garden, and a scorpion is about to sting mom, and Baahubali grabs it and gets
takes the
stung.
poison.
And then eats it.
It's basically
Does he eat the scorpion?
no. He just kills it.
Yeah, he just like crushes it.
What did
Yeah.
he like brings his hand? Oh, is he like sucking the poison
Sucking the poison
out?
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So basically, the montage shows us that while the other brother is selfish like a prince,
Nope.
he doesn't seem.
He's not evil.
Yeah, he just
doesn't
seems like
evil at that
he just
point,
seems like
yeah.
a kid of privilege. While Baahubali is very much not.
Yep.
He's going out of his way to help people, to be kind. He'll show off a little bit, but it's in a fun way.
so much so that he approaches Katapa, his mother, who's really his aunt. We'll just call him his mom.
Yeah.
The guard Katapa, and he's like with the guards eating, and he's like, "Feed me," and he's like, "I can't feed you. You know my status. Like I'm not allowed to do that."
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Then I declare you uncle. Feed me, uncle." And then he's like crying while he feeds him. Like,
Yeah.
my
I was
sweet-
a little
sweet
confused by that
child.
because I thought it was the bad brother who was like, I don't care what you are, I want your food, like being real shithead about it. But then when you guys explained, I was like, okay, yeah, now I see why Katapa's crying. He's not crying because he's hungry.
He's crying because he got declared into a
Honorary
position of
uncle.
honor.
Yeah.
It all culminates with this epic battle scene where this essentially barbarian horde is attacking the kingdom.
Real quick
And they're
before you
all
get
in,
that,
like, blackface, which is
the
problematic.
queen mother, the regent, had declared they will decide who rules eventually later, is what she basically
Yeah.
said. Like, she will have to decide at one point who rules, but not yet.
Yeah, and so then we have this long amount of time, and they're both adults now. Baahubali and Bala is, I guess, what we'll just call the brother. It's easier.
And
she, with this barbarian horde, she declares whoever kills the leader of their army
Yeah.
will
No.
be king.
She doesn't want him to be killed. She wants him to be captured.
She says that to Baahubali afterward.
Yeah. But in front of everyone,
in front of everyone, she says whoever gets the kill.
His head or whatever.
Because afterwards, she's like, he's being so terrible. Like he's killed so many of our people. I want him alive. Is what she declares.
In the midst of the battle, she changes her mind. And says, "Don't kill him," because
Baahubali though.
Because he had said that he wanted to basically rape her to death.
Yeah.
And so she said, "Never mind. You're not going to get the pleasure of dying."
She's like, "I'm going to rape you to death."
Basically.
So, this scene, this battle, is the bulk of the flashback story, I guess, in the first movie, and it's an epic battle.
Oh, yeah.
They both have different strategies. They're like, we're going to do the trident, and they're like, the trident never works. And we still don't know what the trident is. It was like the flanking. Move, it was a pincher move. But so they both get half the army, the Baahubali and his brother.
Katappa gets a shield wall.
Yeah,
I fucking love a shield wall, dude.
Shield wall is an underrated strat, man.
Like
Bala gets the archers.
Yeah, he has the archers, and then they were like Baahubali. His brother and his dad were like, we don't even know what Bahubali's doing.
Yeah,
and these two people show up
the archers.
And they take all the tents.
Yeah.
And you don't really think about it. You're like, okay, whatever.
You had the catapults instead of the archers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which wasn't that effective against a giant horde.
Yeah, of people against other siege missions. Yeah.
You take 60,000 tents worth of material and build them into giant
sheets,
tarps like that would cover a football field.
Soaked in oil. Yeah. So they fling this sheet out there. It covers a big part of the army. And then Baahubali he's probably the only one with a bow, and he lights his arrow on fire and shoots it out. And it's just this sheet of molten fire.
My favorite part of that
and then you see other ones flying out, which I love.
When the first one lands, one of the barbarians cuts through it, and he's like, oil! Like, it's great. And then you see the flame arrow coming.
Yeah. So while the brother's he's just using paltry bows and arrows.
And he has a chariot with a lawnmower attachment that's just literally mowing through anyone ahead of him, good and bad.
Yeah.
Just chopping right through them.
I love his weapon. The evil brother's weapon is a
like
giant
mega flail or something.
It's like a flail that can also, it has a huge ball on one end with a stick, but it also shoots out on a chain and comes back. Yeah. It's like Captain America's shield plus a Hulk fist. For sure.
And on that same note, the army that they're fighting has taken captive some of the people who live in the hills surrounding the kingdom. The peasants. And Bala is like, I'll just mow straight through that peasant line to get to where I need to be.
He's like, I got a super chariot.
So all these people who are his people, not soldiers, are just dying.
Yeah.
And then it's Bahu's turn to be faced with the same thing. Yeah. He gets up to the enemy line and realizes that all of the soldiers have a peasant from their village or for their kingdom in front of them.
Yeah.
And all the people who are on horseback with Bahu, they throw out these, I don't know, like rocks. They look like nunchucks, but with big boulders.
Like the things you use to trip people. I forget.
Yeah, I think bolas is what they're called.
And you think like, oh my God, I thought he was going to like take out the line of people, but they all get like wrapped around their legs and they fall to their
and
knees,
then they get hit. The horse people behind them. Yeah,
the horse people.
It was pretty badass.
Decapitate everybody.
They made another point of showing like when the battle had turned and it looked like the barbarian horde was going to win. Baahubali makes this big speech, and one of the things he says in his speech is like, you don't win a battle by killing the enemy. You win by saving your own people. Right. Yeah. And Queen was like, that's my dude right there. Yeah. It kind of was a Last Jedi moment. And then Baahubali.
My favorite part of the speech, though, was like 6 injured dudes who were like missing like arms and legs.
Yeah, there was a guy literally missing both his legs.
One dude, they show him just tourniquet himself, and he's like, yeah. And then we see him with a spear like flying at someone a minute later. It's amazing.
It is amazing. I believe they had also taken down the kingdom's flag. So it's like they have to recover. So Baahubali leads this horse charge out to the main barbarians guy. He's going one-on-one with their leader. He gets to the point where he can deliver the killing blow, but he stops because Mama was like, don't kill that guy. Like, I got torture for him.
Somehow he has like a giant lion glove.
It's from Bala's chariot when it crashes.
Part of Bala's chariot came off.
Part of the face comes off.
Bahu grabs this giant like metal lion.
Golden lion.
Uses it to grip the leader of the invader's head. And it's just like dragging him behind.
I love that the lion jaw had a jaw that opened and closed in order to do that. Yeah. So Baahubali has the chance to make the killing blow, but he stops. He's like, I'm not going to kill this guy. And then out of nowhere, a rock flail just clunks into the guy's head. It's an amazing sound effect. It's like goofy.
Yeah.
I fucking loved it. Yeah,
It was like, boom.
it was a real doinker.
It's like in 16 Candles when the girl's in the shower and she's naked and they make the boob noise.
Yeah.
It's like that, but with a rock hitting a head.
Yeah. And then they get back to the line and they're like, my son, the creepy Ron Jeremy dad is like, my son got the kill. He is king.
He did.
And then the queen was like, no, Bahubali's king.
Yeah.
And everyone's like,
what?
The people right around are like, no, this is outrageous. But then all the other people are like, Baahubali.
But she says, kill someone, like kill 1,000 people, you're a warrior.
Oh, yeah.
Save just one, and you're a god to that person. That's why Baahubali should be king.
But first, she named her son Bala. She named him, and he's like smiling, like he's like, "Oh yeah,
doesn't
mom's
he start
gonna make
strutting
me the
up
king."
there?
And she's like, "Bala is the commander of the army," and he's like,
he's basically commander in chief. Basically, yeah.
And
But
then-
not.
He's the number
king.
2. He's the VP. He's the Pence. He's a real Pence.
Kinda.
Anyways, now we flash back to reality.
back to present,
Back to present day. And I think Shiva might ask, like, so what happened to my dad? Yeah. And he's like, he was betrayed by one. Now this is Katapa talking to him.
They do explain, like, he couldn't be hurt by enemy blade.
Yeah.
Like,
This was all through.
he was, like, blessed,
song.
basically blessed. So yeah, then they go to Katapa still narrating.
Yeah.
So.
And he said he was betrayed by one of his own. And so your immediate thought as a viewer is like, oh, the brother got him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Of course he did. And then he
Bahu
says,
brother.
Kataba says, it was I who killed Baahubali.
I was that traitor.
They
He's like on the
show,
verge
yeah,
of
I was that
suicide.
traitor. He's in tears. They flash back to this amazing scene, this darkness, fire behind the two of them. You just see the blade going, and the fucking movie ends right there.
Yeah.
And that's where we're all standing up, about to touch the screen of the television.
I was about to touch the
screaming,
ceiling. I was
"No!"
jumping so high. Imagine having to wait 3 years to see
Right?
Baahubali to the
I
conclusion.
hate that for anyone who saw this in theaters.
I would have killed myself.
No, there's. What are other good cinematic cliffhangers you've
Nothing.
seen?
Nothing.
I mean,
I've ever
Luke, I am
seen
your
compares.
father is a big one,
So,
but
like,
that's not
Empire-
a real clip. Well, yeah, I mean, Han goes down to the
Yeah.
cryo freeze.
For me, I know neither one of you are fans of this film, but the first Kill Bill had a very good
I've just never seen
cliffhanger, which basically the whole movie is her getting revenge for getting attacked on her wedding day when she was pregnant and losing her baby. And then I'm going to spoil it for you guys, so I hope you don't mind.
Here be spoilers.
At the very last moment, you never even like see Bill, but you hear him, and he's talking to one of his injured soldiers, and he's like, "What did you tell her?" And then he says, like, does she know that her daughter's still alive? And then, like, the movie ends right there, and it's like, oh, shit, like, this is crazy. So that's, like, a really good one I remember.
You could call Back to the Future a big cliffhanger, sort of. I mean, they
Yeah,
resolve
but
their main plot, but then they start something new and end it.
And then, I know you haven't... We won't go into that, but in the
Purposefully
sequels,
not
in the
seen the
sequels they do some of that, too.
Yeah.
Even more so.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good
I agree
one.
that those things were suspenseful, but we're not exaggerating when we say we literally stood up from the couch and we're like 2 inches from the TV.
The only reason I bring
our
up
heads off. Like
Yeah.
I've never had that kind of reaction
was insane.
to
Yeah.
anything that I've watched.
The only reason I bring up the Kill Bill one is because I had a very visceral reaction when I watched that in theaters. I was like, what?
What about, this is not to the same scale at all, but in Split, the scene after the credits where they're talking about the monster, and then they just zoom out and it's fucking Bruce Willis right there from his Unbreakable character.
It's a very cool moment. But
I had the same reaction, like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, but it wasn't the same level of cliffhanger by
I
any
remember
means.
I wanted the Deathly Hallows to kind of have a cliffhanger moment since they split in two, but I don't feel like it did.
No.
No.
I feel like it
It's
just
hard to have a
ended and was
cliffhanger
ready.
when you know what's
It had
gonna
a
happen.
satisfying
Yeah, it was a good arc. But
end of the first movie, like
Yeah.
with Dobby's dying. All right, so enter Baahubali 2, The Conclusion, 2017 release.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it came out to our local Airsley Grand Cinemas Theater, and Kara, frequent podcast guest, wrote us a little note about her experience with Baahubali. Who wants to read it?
I'll read it.
Okay.
Read it in Kara's voice, though.
Yeah.
No. So Kara sent us this message. She said, "I can't believe you guys are talking Baahubali. Charlotte has a huge Indian population, and we actually ran Indian films at at her old theater, which were mostly Telugu, Tamil, and Hindi language films. Baahubali was massive. It made $60,000 in ticket sales in its first week. Granted, the ticket prices were set by the Indian film distributor and were about $35 each, but the crowd was bananas. Big Indian films are like cultural events. They brought a cake with the poster on it, cheered during the opening credits as if Prabhas himself was there, and we had to clear the lobby of brochures, flyers, local arts, newspapers, because the crowd would tear them up and confetti the auditoriums. It all seems so outlandish. But I lived in another country and saw nothing of my culture. But if I lived in another country and saw nothing of my culture ever, then like a Tom Cruise movie came to town, you better believe I'd be there with a Tom Cruise adult braces era cake and confetti cannons. So yeah, I mean, I completely get that. Growing up personally, like we never saw a lot of Latin culture on TV. Yeah. So when that finally kind of hit in the late 90s, my family was super excited. Selena was an event for us.
A big event.
And that's like generic Latin culture because it's a story about a Mexican musician but played by a Puerto Rican. So even that was like a big event.
Cover all your bases.
But yeah, so I mean, I get that concept for sure. And yeah, I mean, that's.
I remember when Baahubali 2 came out and Kara telling us about how
we kept saying we should see it, and I kind of wish we
now I would. This on the big screen would have been amazing, but $35 a ticket is pretty nuts, and to sell out at that.
Would you pay $35 to see this though?
Yes.
Now that I've seen it, I would.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, as an unknown quantity, I probably wouldn't because that's 3 movies.
Because we didn't.
But it kind of is 3 movies in one. It's kind like the holy trinity of epics.
We'll unpack that in a minute, but. I remember Baahubali 2, I think it was in its opening weekend in the U.S., it was like the number 5 movie in theaters, which is insane for a foreign language, especially Bollywood film in the U.S.
And this series, like we said last week, did really well in theaters, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, here and obviously back home in India.
Especially in India, But no, I mean, they're 2 of the highest grossing Bollywood films ever, for sure.
And I mean, you definitely can just Google it and you'll see a ton of website stuff on it, like posts, there's articles, there's controversies, like there's tons of stuff. Oh, yeah. So it's pretty interesting.
And the second one has, I think, like a two times the budget of the first one.
Yeah.
And it actually, a lot of times those inflated budgets, you don't really, it doesn't translate well. Sometimes it's like actors getting raises.
Yeah.
But here, I think just the film quality of the second one is that much higher than the first one. It's a very beautifully shot film.
Cinematography definitely was stepped up.
And the action choreography is amazing. And the effects we touched on a little already, but they're fine. They're good.
Yeah. There's only like, in the second one, there's very that gold little statue basically is the only really bad thing.
Yeah. And I mean, the spectacle, it's even more ramped up than the first one was because it's less grounded. Because now, as we start the second movie, we have Shiva, young Baahubali. He knows who he is, and he's just like even more fantastical. Yeah. And his battle tactics put his dad's oil sheet to shame, I think.
We haven't even discussed the best part of this, which is that the same actor is playing Shiva
that's our bad
Baahubali.
Prabhas.
So the way that you can tell the difference obviously is they start a flashback, but Baahubali the father has
like a full blowout.
His hair is beautifully coiffed, but the son has more unruly curl to his hair.
More wild,
much more of a villager curl.
Yeah. So that's how you can tell them apart. So you're like cutting to the past, and you're like, oh wait, this is the same actor. Yeah. And then the guy who plays the brother, Bala.
Yeah, it's the same guy.
Uncle.
They put a streak of gray in his beard.
That's how you know he's.
We need to discuss. We said we weren't going to go too deep in this plot, but hey guys, we're here. You guys are listening.
You know what? When you're there, you're there.
The sequel opens with this epic moment of Queen Mother Shivagami walking with like a bowl of fire on her head.
Yeah, they explain
torn up feet, like surrounded by peasants and court people, just like following her, just like amazed that it's the Queen Mother.
Yeah, they explain that it's one of the traditions, like for a new king to be crowned. I guess his mother has to do the walk of and light this beacon or something. I don't know.
At the temple.
Yeah, so she has coals on her head and she's making this walk and like everything goes wrong. Like
Katapa's there guarding her.
Yeah, Katapa's there guarding her. Baahubali's there.
Well, he is hidden at first.
Yeah.
And she's about to make it to the to
this like tiny bridge.
And she's in the village, and then all of a sudden a elephant has a fucking freak out.
Yeah.
And it's like rampaging towards her.
Yeah.
And so then Baahubali, the father Baahubali, because this is in the past, he breaks through some building, and you see him like smiling and laughing, and then he like pushes
a giant cart, like
a giant cart with
it looks like a battering ram type cart.
It has I'm drawing a blank, so I feel really bad. The
has
god,
the
that's
elephant god
the
on
elephant
it.
god.
I don't want to guess because I'm
so
sure
let's
I'm
not
wrong.
guess, but I can look it up in a second. But yeah, he just pushes that statue out, and it blocks the actual elephant, and perfectly has like a gap in the center where she can walk through. Yeah. And then he like sprints
she
across.
never breaks stride.
Yeah, she never breaks stride. He sprints across and like starts throwing spices all over the elephant, like
taming
turmeric.
it.
Yeah, and the elephant sits down. It calms down, and then he starts riding the elephant on its snout.
Do
he
we
just, like,
remember?
Walks up the elephant's
He
head.
also ties a bowstring to its tusks and launch an arrow.
Yeah, into
I don't
the
remember
Burning
why.
Man statue.
I don't remember why he
There's
did
a
that.
giant
though.
statue they have to light on
Like
fire.
a straw statue, yeah. And he fires a flaming arrow from an elephant's tusks.
None
at
of
it.
it made any
That's
sense.
probably part of the whole
beautiful.
ceremony, is my guess. But it was awesome.
I don't know. It was.
Who knows?
It was.
The-
nuts.
It was character intro 101 is what it was.
Bottom line, Mama is going to make sure that this ceremony gets underway so that her son, Bahu, can be crowned king. But he has some time to kill before he's actually able to become king.
Well, either it was her decision or his decision to like tour the country
to get to
before
know his
becoming
people.
king. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she wanted him to tour to get to know his people while she finds him a bride.
Yeah, that's what it was. They showed like all these women, like they had these like tapestries instead of like a Tinder profile, and they're like, "What do you think?" And she's swiping left on everyone.
There's a pile of discarded paintings, which was also great once you see a movie like The Big Sick, where he has his like cigar box of photos.
Yeah, it was nuts.
It's amazing to see that this movie is using that same concept that this one's using, like modern and past. So that was really good.
It lends like extra authenticity to The Big Sick. Like I can't relate to that culture, but
you get it
nuts,
now.
Yeah.
So the Queen Mother sends Katapa off with Bahu to tour the country, and
so this is kind of your like reverse Aladdin, where he's playing Popper so that like
people won't know who he is.
reverse Aladdin.
I mean, it's really what it is. It's like
he ends up like at this village that gets attacked by random bandits.
Yeah.
And he sees this beautiful woman. You know, the Bali men have a type.
Yeah.
He sees this beautiful woman stopping warrior women stopping these thieves, and he starts killing some of them too, just because he can't help himself.
But it's like secret that
right.
Yeah.
Nobody saw him do it.
And then him and Katapa really commit to this bit of pretending they're idiots.
Yeah.
Well, that's because he sees this woman and it's love at first sight. But he knows if she knows who he is, she'll love him immediately.
He doesn't want
He
that.
doesn't question that either.
Yeah.
If she knew who I was,
I wish
she would
I
love
had
me.
Bahubali's confidence.
Immediately. So I
Well,
must
it's based off status.
So I must play this pauper who's a bumbling idiot, so that if she loves me, it's for the real me, which is not.
The bit is
it's a reverse Aladdin.
Weird,
Just saying.
but it ends up with some great sequences of there's this other guy.
The key to the bit is this part.
Yeah, I don't remember the friend's name, but he I think also wanted that woman for himself.
He was courting her. He'd been there for a while, and she kept
he was
resisting.
a very fancy man.
He was a very fancy man.
He was a good looking guy, but he was
hot.
Yeah,
he ends up being a great character too.
He was fancy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He was like
of all
one
the
of my
minor
favorite
characters. He's definitely like in my top 3.
So Bahubali's like, teach me how to chop this wood, and the guy can't.
Yeah.
And then like when no one's looking, Bahubali like splits the log, and the guy's like, oh,
when
what
he
happened?
first-
He's like, you did
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
You broke that log,
like,
and
"That's
everyone's
all
like,
you
yeah.
But Devasana, she sees through it.
Oh yeah.
She's like,
She knows
no
this guy
way
can't do
this
anything.
goofball's doing this.
They do this funny like boar hunt game where they send a bunch of boar out.
Oh yeah,
and
hunt them.
Yeah, so for whatever reason, the bumbling idiot and Bahubali are on the same horse.
Yeah.
I think he's like feeding him spears or whatever.
Yeah.
The uncle, which is Katapa,
Katapa.
convinced them that his son needs training, and so boasting the goofy dude was like, "I'll train you."
Yeah.
And they were both like, "Yeah, okay."
Yeah.
So,
but it's young Devasana against bumbling idiot with Bahubali along for the ride.
Yeah.
And every time the idiot's like throwing a spear, Bahu like taps the back of it to perfectly get it to line
arrows.
up.
It's bow and
yeah,
arrows.
it's arrows. Okay, that's what I thought. He like moves the guy's drawstring to make it perfect. Like some of the shots, like his arrow will split her arrow and get there, so they get all the points. She's furious.
It's so funny.
Baahubali's like, lucky shot, and the guy's like feeling his own swag. I loved it. And then scouts or spies or something report back to the brother that
he's spending a lot of time
there, and they have a picture of the princess, right, of Devasana, and they show the queen mother this, and she's like, oh, they had this sequence where the brother, she offered him this like great bow and this like, and we're building this palace, this. He's like, all of it's a consolation. I don't want any of it. I don't want any of your pity. I want her to be king.
Don't cheapen those things by giving them as consolation.
And then he sort of convinces her. He's like, a beautiful bride like this would work.
Which he's not even interested in her until he finds out that his brother's spending time with her. And then he said, I'm going to basically get revenge on my brother by getting this woman to marry me instead.
No. Imagine if that worked. There'd be a much simpler plot to this movie. He'd be like, okay, we're good now.
So he has this tiny portrait of her blown up to like a full castle wall scale size and unveils it and says, Mom, this is the girl. This is what I want from you. I want her hand in marriage. And the mom's like, it is done.
Yeah, because she's looking for a way to like get back and to like make it up to him, basically.
And she basically like swears on her life that she will get this woman to marry.
Yeah. So they send the letter to that very small kingdom. It was like another petty kingdom.
Like 10 caravans full of jewels and clothes and like fancy stuff.
I think to explain that, how it worked was their family, they were the empire of this land, basically. So when we say like Baahubali and his brother being king, they're actually more like an emperor role above like a bunch of small kingdoms.
Regional kingdoms.
Yeah. So.
And she's offended.
Yeah, she's offended. She's she's like, I don't need all this. I don't actually remember specifically what she said, but
then as they're
she was
offended,
not cool with it.
as they're offended by it,
Katapa is watching all of it, watching the receival of the gifts, and he thinks, oh, the queen mother's like somehow
Baahubali.
Knows that Baahubali's trying to marry her and is sending this. So he only sees that snippet, and I don't think he saw the refusal part of it.
No, he did see the refusal because he told.
He just heard.
He didn't know that it was for the brother.
He pieced together that they were going on a road trip until she finds a wife, and then he sees a letter saying, I want you to be my son's wife.
Right.
Yeah. So
and Devasana's not having it. She's like, you should have come here yourself if you wanted to marry me. I haven't even seen you.
She's still unaware that.
Yeah, she doesn't know who Baahu is.
Yeah. So she just sends back the messenger saying like, nah, fam,
we good.
We don't do this that way.
No.
But then as that's going on, an invading army attacks them again. Yeah. And this is a pretty wild scene where
it's all over the place.
Baahubali and Katapa managed to use
single-handedly
flaming buffalo to split the invading army and then pull down a dam and flood out the invaders.
Yeah.
And he like kind of single-handedly pulled this off.
And that's
so people know he's a badass now.
And then Devasana realizes who he is.
So then he pulls off his flowy outfit and shows that he's actually the king.
They have like a very sensual scene where they're shooting bow and arrows together, like when they're fighting the army.
Oh yeah, no, that was
good.
And
she's like 3 arrows at once. And
he's like 4 fingers around 3 and shows her. It's amazing. But then
there's nothing more sexual than 3 arrows at once.
No, but then he's like, yes, I am actually the son of the queen that you just rebuffed, and I would like to take you to her because she requested your presence, but I will protect you.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I knew you were more than what you were saying, so I'm going to go with you because I trust you.
The court scene is... Maybe the second court scene is the most amazing one. Basically, they go back to the court, and she's like, the Queen Mother's like, you rebuffed us, like, you really insulted us, this.
And nobody they still don't understand that it's for Bala. So when Devasana comes to court, and the Queen Mother's sitting flanked by Baahu and Bala on either side, and she's like, come to my son.
Yeah,
and
she ask for forgiveness, and the Queen's like, come to my son then.
She walks over to Baahu.
Yeah.
And the
wrong
Queen's
son.
Like, what?
Wrong
Everyone's
girl.
screaming, and then Katapa's like crying. He's like, oh my god, this is my bad, y'all. Like, I mixed up my emails.
He's a very emotional guy. He cries more than anyone else in this movie.
He's always messing up. That's why.
So then the queen is like, Baahu, you can't be king if you marry this woman. She insulted us. And he's like, then I don't want to be king.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's like, don't make
Does
me
he throw off
choose.
a crown or something too?
He like basically cast it aside. He's like going to take the king.
Yeah, he's like, if you make me choose, I will choose.
Yeah.
So I'm going to choose, and I choose her.
Then we cut to his brother's inauguration day.
Yep.
So,
yeah, because the queen's like, fine. I got a good other son.
Basically, she's super stubborn.
Yeah.
Which
every woman in this movie is very stubborn.
and her natural born son kind of takes the stubbornness from her too.
Yeah.
But
I guess he does.
But then actually both of her sons do, because the reason, and Baahubali explains it to Katapa, he's like, she raised me to stand up for what's right, and I made a promise, so I'm keeping it. But he never explains that to his mom, which...
Well, she wouldn't listen anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And,
at this point.
And when you watch something like The Big Sick, it is funny to see how like some of those tropes transfer between these types of films, where the mother's very upset with him the whole time for wanting to do his own thing in that movie. So it's just kind of funny to see that that's like a very present story in Indian films right now. So
the brother goes to inauguration. He's the king, and Bahu is the commander of the armies instead.
Yeah. Yep.
He's happily married to Devasana. But there's some tension between...
because Devasana is pregnant.
Yep.
And the king knows that means that's another heir in line. That's always something to be concerned about. But that's also, it should have been his woman, even though he got the kingdom. And he's just offended about the whole thing.
Yeah.
So his way to punish Baahubali for continuously being this like prick in his side is
fire him.
To fire him.
When his wife is like 8 months pregnant, she's about to pop, he's like, you're unemployed.
At the baby shower,
and the way he does it,
the baby shower.
It's pure dick move. He's like, you need to dedicate a lot of time to me.
He's like,
he's doing a favor.
I'm really concerned about you spending so much time.
My gift to you is to be unemployed so you can spend all of your time with your wife and your child.
Yeah.
And then
everyone's like, oh, shit.
And then it cuts to...
Then she has some very choice words for the king. She's like, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
But they go live out in the outskirts of town. And
Not yet. So they're still in the kingdom. They're just not employed in the royal court.
Right.
It ends up with another trial, right?
Because she's going to go worship at the temple, and he's like, the new commander is like, nah, you go in that other line. This is for the royal court.
Yeah, and then he's groping all the women.
Yeah, and he's like groping ladies, and so she's like,
she cuts his hand off.
Yeah, she cuts off his hand or his fingers.
Yeah,
it's just his fingers.
Oh yeah, because they all popped up like Vienna sausages.
And so she's standing trial. They pull her into court before Bahu could even show up.
Yeah,
and the king's just like, you know, you hurt my dude, you hurt my commander, like that's not right. And
she's like he was groping us, and he's like, that's not what he said.
And then Bahu shows up and he's like, he looks like upset with his wife. He's like, how come you didn't tell me you did this? And she was like, and he's like, because he deserved to die.
Yeah, he's like, he needs more than his hands cut off.
And he just cuts his head off.
Yeah, just
so this is our second decapitation.
The second main decapitation.
Yeah,
there was probably more in the battle.
This is our second feature.
There was probably a couple decapitated guys roused by Baahubali's speech in the first movie.
But this is the second like named character who gets decapitated.
Yeah, and so this is when Baahubali and his wife are banished. They have to go live in the mines or the quarry or whatever it was.
Love them, and
he becomes this like hero.
He becomes like the
hero.
foreman. He ends up like revamping how they do everything. Yeah. He's showing them how to cook better, how to hunt better. He's basically just like fixing everything wherever he goes.
The king and the queen mother just like watch from a hill and they're like, "What's he doing?"
Yeah, and
all the people love him.
Basically, Bahu taught the guy who was courting his wife back when they first met how to not be a coward during that key scene.
Yeah,
that was a really good moment.
I forgot about that scene.
And since then, he's been like a dedicated follower of Bahubali's.
Yep.
So
he must have moved from nice little secluded kingdom to good for him.
So he's been like part of his posse since then. Yeah. And he's just like, always watching out for him and staying with him, and then he gets summoned. Or he sees the father and the king talking in secret.
Yeah.
And then the father with the arm that's deformed, he basically is like shocked by his son being like, I need to kill Baahubali.
Yeah. And so then the king leaves and the father's there.
Yeah.
And then the dopey guy and the father are talking and the father's like, you have to kill my son. Yeah. It's the only way to save Baahubali.
It's only right that the rightful king, Baahubali, serves instead of my son who's evil.
And he's like, well, how am I going to do that? And the dad's like, I got this. I know a way you can get in. You use my secret path and you're going to kill him. No problem. Everything's on the up and up.
Yeah, it's all set.
So then you see him sneak in and he's going to make the kill and they pull the blanket back and it's just a bunch of pillows sitting there. A classic move.
Yeah.
And then all the guards flood in.
Began. That was the first time that was done in history.
That's true, actually. It was written. Guards flood in. They're like, you are trying to assassinate our king. And the father's there, too, with a real smug look on his face.
And the king's there, too.
And the king's there, yeah. And so they kill him right there, don't they? Yeah.
He takes down like 10 of them.
Oh, yeah, no. Bahubali's bravery lessons
He gets the scar on the king's face. That's right.
Yeah.
The king does it himself afterwards.
The king does it himself to be like, I'm deformed by your man.
Just like my dad. But no, so then they call in the Queen Mother. They're like, look at
what Bahu's men did.
And so basically they can convince the Queen Mother that Bahubali's turned completely to the dark side.
And she's like, Katapa.
Yeah, she's like, Katapa, you have to listen to us. Yeah. You're my most loyal person. Go kill Bahubali. And he's torn apart
he's like
by
crying
it.
again immediately.
Yeah, shocker.
It's basically like when Isaac or Abraham sent out to kill Isaac.
No, I wouldn't say basically. There's some parallels, but I wouldn't say basically.
So Katapa goes out there, and isn't Bahubali like, so good to see you, Katapa? Yeah. And then just a random bandit army attacks. Yeah, then unrelated.
Attack. It's just always random bandits.
Yeah. And Bahubali, in saving Katapa, gets like 70 arrows shot into his back.
Yeah, he gets Boromired.
Yeah, he gets Boromired hard. But that doesn't stop him at all. Like, he's like slowed down, and then he like pulls the arrows out, and he's like, let's go, Katapa. They're fighting, like... Bahubali's up on this like log or something fighting a bunch of people. He shoots an arrow and another rock falls to lift Katapa to him. It's amazing.
Yeah, and then lightning strikes.
Yeah. And there's a fire. Yeah.
Erupts flame. And you know it's coming.
I like the way you're saying this, like it's an epic poem.
Katapa pulls out his sword.
And he like is crying and he's like, I'm sorry.
And he literally he stabs Bahubali through the spine.
Does he tell Bahubali to kill him? Or to leave or something?
He keeps telling every time Bahubali saves him, because like a tree falls on him and he gets stabbed. Right. He's like, just leave me to die. Leave me. And he keeps
and Bahubali's like, why the hell would I do that?
Yeah, he's just like, let me die. And the rest of the sentence is, so I don't have to kill you.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, Bahubali's that good.
Yeah, he's not gonna.
He does. He kills him. Yeah. And he's dead.
He's not dead. He's dying.
He's dying.
Oh, yeah.
They have a good exchange right here.
Yeah.
He's like, take care of, my wife, my mother.
Yeah.
He was like, take care of my mother is actually the first thing he said. Make sure she's good. And basically like they kind of exchange words, and then because Katapa was unaware of like the true statecraft that had occurred.
Some serious statecraft.
And then the king walks out. I don't know why he's there, but the king's there and he's like, yeah, good thing I tricked my mom, because that's how we killed this asshole. And Katapa's like, what?
This is when, like, even up to this point, you could argue that the brother isn't even that bad.
Yeah. He's just like selfish.
He's maybe selfish. Yeah, he's a little too protective of his throne and stuff. But this, like, when he starts talking about his mom and, like, he's saying some real shitty stuff, he's like, good thing I tricked my dumb mom. Yeah. It's like, and you're just as dumb, you idiot. Yeah. It's like, okay, we get it. You're evil.
And that also, I think, has a lot of cultural ties there. Yeah. Definitely in how they've established these mother-son relationships.
Yeah, like respect for your mother is like a big part of the culture. So.
And that's why Bahubali is so beloved, because he loves his mother.
Oh, yeah. His dying words were protect mom.
Protect my mother.
But no, and that's good writing, because it worked really for the character. Like, it was believable. Yeah. It never felt outlandish.
And it's circular, which we'll get to.
But so basically, when Katapa gets back, he's like coated in blood.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but they managed to grab Devasana as well.
Yeah. And she's in labor pretty much.
I think she just gave
birth. I think she just given birth because Queen Mother, she's like, what have you done, Katapa? And he's like, I did what you told me. And she's like, fuck.
Yeah. She's like, I regret everything.
So she runs away with the baby.
And he explains, he's like, your son, the one who's still alive, the king, is like an asshole. He arranged all this. That was all a trick.
Yeah, every part of it.
Like, you're an idiot. We're both idiots, though.
And so he at this point holds the baby, and the baby puts his feet on his head.
Well, he puts the baby's feet on his head. He puts
the baby's feet on his head as like a sign of like, I am submissive to you.
Yeah.
And then, but then this is twist of all of the events, Shivagami, the Queen Mother, takes this little baby just been born.
Hold on. We haven't even addressed that the king and his father have shown up by this point.
Right.
And are demanding that Katapa kill the baby as well as Devasana.
Right. So Queen Mother takes the baby, storms out onto the balcony, kind of, where like everyone in the kingdom is there.
They just heard that Bahubali got killed, and they want to know the truth from
they're all waiting.
The son is thinking like, I'm the king now.
But he's like, no more problems.
Well, he already is the king, but
Yeah.
she lifts the baby up and basically declares that...
Well, she says, it is true that Father Baahubali is dead, but this is son Baahubali, and he's your rightful king.
Yeah.
So she declares this newborn baby the king.
Yeah.
And we're going to take a look back to the very opening scene of the first movie. Starts with a woman who we now know was the Queen Mother, drenched in blood, running.
With
and
an arrow
has
in her back.
And
Oh,
she
yeah,
takes this baby to the river and holds him up. That's baby Baahubali.
Yep.
So that's
Also
how
known
the
as
first movie
Shiva-do.
opens.
Shiva-do.
And so now we're back to where that scene, the events that lead up to that opening scene from movie 1.
Yeah.
She's declared the baby the king.
She
and
starts
she's
taking off with the
trying
baby.
to escape
Yeah.
from the city.
She gets in a boat, and then the king,
Her
the
son,
son,
Balu,
With his special bow.
with the bow she gave him that can't miss like up to 1,000 feet or something.
Yeah.
which they made a very clear point
Yeah.
when she gave him that bow of how accurate it was.
So he launches an arrow.
And like the guy next to him was
her
like,
back.
she's just about 1,000 feet away. He doesn't actually say that, but
Probably. and so it shows him basically like giving his mother a mortal wound.
yeah.
Exactly. And so then we
we
cut
know what
back
happens
to
with her.
current day,
Yep.
right? Or flash forward.
Yep.
And Shiva-do.
Shiva-do Baahubali. He's pretty
Baahubali
pissed.
too, is
Sorry?
like,
He's pretty pissed.
Oh yeah, he's pissed, but he's more pissed at the king than he is
Yeah.
once he heard the full story.
Right.
Yeah.
He's like, he grabs because during the baby shower, Devasana referred to Katapa as their father now.
Yeah.
And during that, it was like very emotional. That's why he did the foot in the head thing.
Yeah. They do it again there.
So he does the foot in the head thing.
Katapa's
just begging
crying
for
still.
forgiveness.
Yeah.
But then Shiva-do, son Bahu, was like, let's go, grandfather. Let's get the kingdom back.
Yeah.
right. And as they're turning to do that, Shiva-do's cousin, who is Bala's son, has been sent out to basically get them because they've caught up with him. He's taken his mom.
I thought this guy was dead already.
No, the Bala's son comes out to where Baahubali is, and
He was beheaded in the last movie, I thought.
No, in the end of the second movie, Bahu has decapitated someone. It's his son. It is his son because Baahubali decapitates him and then is basically rallying them like, "Let's go to the palace."
Because carrying his head, right?
No, he's not. He isn't. Sorry, I'm getting chills. Devasana is walking towards the palace. And Bala is sitting up on the throne looking over his kingdom.
Oh, yeah, with a
and he
spyglass.
has like this giant telescope that's like bigger than
My favorite part is they put extra lenses in it to make it work right.
Yeah. Other people are putting lenses in the
So
front.
he is looking and he sees like Devasana coming over the horizon and he's just juiced. He's like, my only
Juiced.
sense of joy is from chaining this bitch up. Like, I can't wait to get her back and kill her.
Yeah.
And then as she comes over the horizon, he scans down and sees that she's holding his son's head in her hand by the hair.
Yeah.
And then pans out and you see Baahubali and his army of peasants.
His hair's starting to look a lot like his dad's.
Yep,
Very flowy.
It's been
That
it's
blowout
a
is
little flatter. And she holds up the head, throws it, and Bahu shoots an arrow through his kid's head, which takes the head from the distance
and pins it to the palace
pins
wall.
it to the palace wall. When Bala grabs it and goes like, "My son, I will kill every person who witnessed your death.
Yeah.
I will avenge your death, and I will build a funeral pyre from you with all of their dead bodies, and then I will have your funeral. You will burn on their bodies."
And then we get our second massive battle, and there's like an initial skirmish, right? And the army of the king is much larger than this ragtag group of randos that Son Bahubali's put together.
It's just like a random pickup.
And the king has put back his lawnmower chariot. Like, he's got it again. He's rolling out there with it. There's like a bunch of skirmishes, and then he's retreating back into the city. I remember the most epic scene is Bahubali's trying to like jump up onto the bridge is being like drawn close. He tries to jump up and he just gets pinned with a massive arrow.
Yeah.
That was the moment in the second movie that I jumped out of my seat.
And while all of this
Screaming.
The reason he's chasing his uncle is because he just stole back
He just
Devasana.
stole back Mama. Yeah.
And while all of this is happening, this like epic music is playing in the
Oh, yeah.
background. And I'm just going to give you a little taste of what the lyrics are like. I just screenshot them because the
subtitles to the music, they're important to the story. They are important.
So as Bahu's like coming over on the attack, this music is playing. And even without knowing what the words are, you're like, this is so intense.
Yeah, it sets the tone.
They say things like, fierce god of storms, ushers peace, showered by the Lord of the seven seas. He dances in fury, Lord Shiva, our sentinel and sanctuary. Like every line is like that beautifully
Promise
written.
me when I die that you read that word for word at my funeral.
I just want my gravestone to be a loop of Baahubali and Baahubali 2.
I want the Shiva throne as my gravestone.
Yeah. After the king's back in the walls, he's probably like, we're safe. Look at these walls. What could they possibly do?
Yeah.
So they pull trees back in slingshot maneuver.
The key part here, though, is either Devasana or... No, Devasana's not there, so Katapa says, Bahu, you need to think like your father. You need to stop thinking like Shiva and think like your father.
Really loud. He's like,
yeah, he rage quits for a second, and then he like looks up the trees, and you see him like thinking, and then it cuts to this.
Think like your father basically means like do the weirdest shit you can.
Yeah,
so they make the trees slingshots, and they form cannonballs.
They all
with
link
themselves.
Arms.
They all link arms in a circle, and there's a guy on each end. It's probably like an 8-person cannonball each time.
They were in a straight line, and then when they got released,
it like flung them into
they're all
cannonball.
They shield wall themselves.
And then shield walled into a ball.
Into the city, and they bounce and scatter, but they all land on their feet.
My only complaint on that moment...
That CG was pretty good.
It was pretty good.
When they showed the transition from the ball to landing, like
it looked real.
As good as it could look. My only complaint was
How can you complain about this scene?
I really felt as soon as they landed, it should have made bowling pin noises.
Yeah, for sure.
That would have been perfect.
Sure, yeah.
It didn't.
We could make that edit for sure. At first I thought it was just gonna be one group doing that and then like opening the bridge, but no, then they just show like all of them.
Yeah, there's like 12 groups getting launched at the same time.
How did the last guy get in?
They open the gate. Yeah. They open the drawbridge. So all this epic battle's happening, and we see Devasena is in the same, like the Queen Mother with the coals on her head, marching. And
she's like, getting ready to make the transition to get Son Baahubali.
She managed to get away from Bala.
Yeah, because now Baahubali and his uncle are fighting. Like one-on-one, mano y mano.
And they see Devasena moving with the flames on her head to go light the...
And Katapa's basically doing his job again, running around trying to clear a path.
Yeah, and this is the only spot where we see Avantika again protecting her mother-in-law.
She's in there too.
Yeah.
So she's from her kingdom, so that makes sense.
For whatever reason, like once you start that journey with the ashes,
you're not allowed to stop.
Interrupted. So the king's men, Bala's men, light the bridge on fire. And this is when we have our third decapitation, fourth decapitation.
By now, it's probably 30th.
They're fighting. Bahu and his uncle are fighting, and he falls. The statue of his uncle.
Does a statue's head falling off count as a decapitation?
I think it's symbolic.
It is symbolic.
The head of the statue comes off, rolls into the river where the burning bridge is, and creates a footpath for the mother to continue.
Douses the fire.
It reminded me also of when the father Baahubali grabbed the boat and the dock and let her walk across his shoulders.
Yeah.
And so at this point, Bahu has his uncle on the funeral pyre, on the pyre that his mom had been making.
Their fight has a ton of epic moments too. The king has his ball chain retractable thing.
Bahu chain gloves.
Bahu grabs the chains that bore his mother for 25 years and wraps them around his fists.
And he's just beating the shit out of his uncle.
They show him like punching and like bursting muscles in the other guy's body.
Yeah.
They show him whipping the chains and pulling him back to him. It's epic.
He also does a 30-foot...
There's a crucifix.
He starts to get crucified, He does a 30-foot leap from another building with his knee pulled.
Dropping the people's knee.
The people's knee. Total WWE move. Stone Cold was a fight choreographer for the movie. It has everything you want a final fight to have. And it ends with him wrapping the chains around the uncle, throwing him onto the funeral pyre,
stabbing him through
then doing another 30-foot leap.
The uncle's like, kill me, and instead he stabs his sword through his thigh and his...
This is when he's in the sky.
As he's leaping, it's like all of a sudden dark.
and
all
stormy.
these storm clouds are behind him, and the lightning is lighting the storm clouds up, and you can see the shadow of Bahubali. Like,
Yeah,
the father.
it's amazing.
The father.
It looks like a painting.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful. It
Yeah,
sounds
the whole
so
movie
cheesy,
is.
you guys, but like,
You got to see it.
I
Yeah.
have chills.
And so it ends with him being pinned by his leg in the funeral pyre, and Devasena reaching, and like she has her clothes, and she just like.
And Paula's like, come join me, we'll die together.
Yeah. It's like tempting.
But no, it's so funny because she has this face like, should I drop this bowl of coal? Oh, oops,
and it's like she lets it fall out of her hands, and he's lit aflame.
Yeah.
Then there's just the most sudden cut possible, too. Yeah. Everything's okay again. Cut. He's being crowned king. Yes, total smash
And this is when he has the full Baahubali blowout.
Yeah, he has his father's blowout hair.
He's
wearing an
awesome
beautiful
like
color,
if you go to a hair salon, if you can ask
a Baahubali
like if you're in
blowout.
India, I'm sure this is their most popular movie.
If I ever go,
that's just a Prabhas.
Like, give me that Baahubali blowout.
Yeah.
They do the paint on his forehead, and they put the crown on, so everything looks right. He stands up and points. And then it's like the seal of the director appears.
He makes a big statement first. He's like, in this kingdom, we only celebrate people who work hard, who are honest and truthful. Yeah. And anybody who's bad, basically. It's like, and if you're bad, you're going down.
Yeah.
Bam! And then the symbol shows up.
And then it's credits.
Yeah. They show the CG head floating down the river.
Yeah.
So
it's the perfect duo of movies.
I
want a Baahubali 3.
The only thing I hate is it's done. Like, there's not.
They
really
said there's no plans
on
a third. They could do a third. Like
the story ends, man.
Every turn of the story, there was a barbarian horde attacking the kingdom.
Yeah, but
that's not going to end.
The whole thing I said was the tragedy versus the redemption at the same time.
Yeah, that's over. But you can have another son, also played by Prabhas. You could have more flashbacks to Bahubali's father's father.
Yeah, because he did look alike too.
Yeah, you don't know anything about the grandfather.
You could do just the same actor playing every level of lineage.
Just to let you guys know, there is, I believe, an animated series and a comic book based off this too now.
Yeah, I was trying to find it, but I couldn't find it.
So there is more media.
That's not going to do it for me though, because the comic book and the cartoon aren't going to have those meaty men that I was really enjoying.
It could.
Everyone
does like a beefy boy.
Like a beefy boy. They were so...
Yeah. This was a real butcher shop.
They were like at the physical peak of human perfection.
The king, Bahu's brother.
Oh, Bala was
peak.
Hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His back when he was getting killed and he flexed his back muscles. It was like
every single fight in the movie had at least at one point someone taking their shirt off and a good muscle flex.
And I enjoyed that too. Like there was a lot of gratuitous shots of just beefy men.
This movie's got something for everyone, ladies.
All we ever saw of a woman was a soft belly, which
I also didn't mind.
No, we were into the soft belly, but there was like not cleavage. There wasn't anything.
What Jody's
really
saying is
sexual.
she appreciated a movie that had beefy boys and soft belly ladies.
Yeah.
It's refreshing.
For sure.
I will say anyone who wants to make a good Superman movie should watch this.
Yeah, we were saying it'd be great to have S.S. Rajamouli, the director and writer. He should get in on the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I mean, honestly, give them a DC one now because they need some
they need something.
But no, because there's moments.
He could add some more like life to the DC.
Well, there's moments of
they're so heavy-handed and like
of Shiva where he's very much like a Superman character.
Yeah, he's kind of like Goku.
Yeah, exactly. I kept telling people this is Goku meets Superman is what it is. Meets Jesus and Moses. Like biblical epics should take note from this film.
That's the real Justice League.
This director remaking like the Bible as a movie.
Yeah, like imagine this guy's take on the Ten Commandments. It would be
I'm sure he wouldn't want to.
I wish he would remake the Passion of the Christ.
They're making a sequel.
How do you make a sequel to a movie about
Easter Sunday?
The rumor is that it's going to be about Jesus going to hell. And I believe Jim Caviezel is reprising.
Jim Caviezel is also in a movie about Saul Paul.
Better Paul Saul.
Yeah, that character from the Bible. That character. So
because a lot of the
Send
Old
your
Testament,
hate mail.
And not that I've read it, but probably
here we go. This is gonna be good.
I feel like a lot of the Old Testament stories are just as ridiculous and fantastic as some of the stuff from Baahubali.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
So like, just imagine that being stylized in this.
No, that's
Bollywood
what I'm saying.
style.
They tried that with Mother, and we hated it.
That
and it was awful. So
not.
That's too stylized. Not
that.
We're talking this.
Bollywood.
We're talking this.
Yeah.
I want the Bible to go to Bollywood.
I want everything to go to Bollywood now.
I also think if anybody ever tries to make another Dragon Ball movie, they need to watch this.
Oh,
like
for
we said,
sure.
it's very Goku-esque, but the action
sure.
works for it completely.
What was the name of the Goku in the Evolution? Justin Chin...
Oh, God.
Chadwick
I don't
or
even
something?
remember. Exactly.
He's been in Shameless now,
Yeah.
so he's made a little career, but
No, it's just...
get him into Bollywood, you know?
This does the positive, uplifting hero.
Yeah.
This does fun action.
Yeah, the movie's not, like, pessimistic in any way.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great family film.
I personally, we talked about this a little. I personally don't agree because it is very bloody and
I
violent.
would say, like,
I
middle
think-
school on, it should be fine.
Yeah, but
I would
it's not a
enjoy this
family
at
film
10,
in
I
the
would say.
same vein as E.T.
I think like a 8 to 10-year-old.
If your kid's
Or
old
older.
enough to watch Lord of the Rings, they could watch this.
So that's 13. Then by
Ish.
the rating association,
rating,
it's PG-13.
There's no
but-
foul language. There's no sexual tension, like sex.
Oh, there was sexual
There's-
tension.
There's tons of sexual tension, but a kid wouldn't pick up on it.
It is a
just-
very violent
It's
movie,
violent,
though.
but like in a beautiful way. Like it's not gross.
Look, you don't have to
violence.
sell me. But
Look,
son
it's- I mean,
Scott
it says-
Hubali might not
You
be
know who would
watching this
love
when
this
he's 7.
movie? My mom.
All right.
She loves the movie
All right, folks.
300.
This is
definitely
nothing
better
like
than
300.
Well, it has that kind of stylized violence.
Beefy
that-
boys.
Beefy
Not wearing
boys, beefy boys on style.
That's what your mom likes. I've watched movies with her.
We watched.
We watched
the
Hercules starring Dwayne Johnson, and for some reason, me and your mom were sitting next to each other, and every time Dwayne Johnson walked in without a shirt, she's like,
She's
that
like,
is
hot
a man.
flash.
And
Just
he
say stuff like that.
He was like in a leather kilt or whatever Hercules wears.
A loincloth.
A loincloth.
God, have these guys do a Hercules movie.
Hell yeah.
They
Oh
just
my
did.
god.
They just
They
did.
did.
Yeah.
He is Indian
Baahubali.
Hercules.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys, we recommend this movie.
Yeah,
We
this is
can't recommend it
our
enough.
second episode in a row talking only about Baahubali.
If for some reason you guys thought we were joking, we're seriously not. Like, this
Yeah.
is a great film. Check it out. I personally enjoy a lot of foreign films. I especially like outlandish fantasy films, so this worked
Yeah.
really well for me.
Yeah, if they tried to make Baahubali in the U.S., it would probably be directed by like Brett Ratner, and I would hate it.
Joe Manganiello would play Baahubali, and then I keep saying Colin Farrell could
Yeah,
play...
but Colin Farrell's too good for
brother.
the American version of Baahubali.
Joe,
I mean, yeah.
Joe Manganiello has the body for it, but he doesn't have the charm.
But see, I don't think a U.S.
No
production
no,
company is going to care.
And no American man has the charm. Let's be honest.
Wow.
I'm just
Pack it up, boys.
gonna throw that out there.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, so Max, how do you feel with your wife saying that?
I mean, I can't lie. I mean, I think Bahubali's more charming than me, so he's got like a 20 on charisma.
You're a 20 on
I mean,
charisma.
to be fair, you're Puerto Rican, and sometimes people think that you're Indian, so there's that.
That's not true.
Max, where can the good people find us?
You can find us. Oh, in a scene we didn't mention at a desert tent bar,
Oh, yeah.
dancing with beautiful maidens as we give beer to everyone in the tent. Or you can find us at thecriticalbreakdown.com. Our new revamped website is it's awesome.
It's as
So check it out.
fantastical as Baahubali.
You can find us on social media. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. You can find me carrying a shrine to Shiva under a waterfall for my mom. Or you can find me on Twitter at Max Rivera Film.
You can find me drifting down the local river holding a baby little pug over my head, screaming to the heavens. Or you can find me at breakdown_Scott on Instagram or on Twitter.
You can find me declaring my younger son, Walter, king of Poodle Kingdom, to Pete's dismay. Or you can find me on Instagram at Cowboy Schnoodle.
Shoot us an email with your guys' thoughts on Baahubali or anything else. If you've seen it and you think we missed the mark, just unsubscribe from the podcast. We don't want to hear from you. Jason Brown did our music. Josh Rivera did our art. Walter is the Poodle King.
And Baahubali is our god.
Preach.
Bahubali is the Prabhas boy.
Next week on The Critical Breakdown.
We're watching When Harry Met Sally, rated 89% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I wish you'd have done an orgasm sound in the middle of that.
Well, you didn't even let me speak,
Yeah,
so... Wow. I guess men and women really can't be friends.